Hey atheists, I have a question. So, you believe the whole universe is a coincidence and made itself, right? But this simple donut can't make itself? Needs a baker? How does that work?
But God made himself? How does that work? Sorry, Lily J, I just couldn't help it. Hello and welcome to another edition of Noah's Snark. I'm Joseph Avina, an atheist, and today I want to talk about how being an atheist is not indicative of holding any particular worldview. You certainly do hear apologists talk about an atheist worldview when no such thing exists. They'll say something like, "In the atheist worldview, you believe everything came from nothing," which is not only strawmanning your opponent, is a poisoning the well fallacy, not to mention stupid when it's literally your own position. What an apologist should be referring to is an atheist's worldview, that is, a particular atheist or atheistic group holding a particular belief they want to criticize. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. It's fine to use qualifiers, guys. I do it all the time in my video shorts. I almost always begin any criticism of theism with, if you believe X, here's the problem with that belief. And I do that because if someone comes up to me and says, I believe in God, that doesn't tell me a whole lot about other things they believe. If someone's a Christian, that doesn't necessarily mean they believe the earth is only 6,000 years old, or that they think the earth is flat, or that they're probably banging their sister. I would say, generally speaking, most atheists who engage in debate or criticisms of religion know this, and in having debates, more often than not, or at least way more often than apologists, try to steelman their opponent's position. I don't know how many times I've seen apologists not do this, as if every atheist believes the same things. For example, that all atheists are social liberals. Well, let me tell you, that is certainly not true, and I've personally been dismayed by the number of atheists I've come across or read about in the last year or so that are either not fond of evidence or outright douchebags to the point of being MAGA supporters. Case in point, last year I came across a live TikTok in which the host was taking guests who disagreed with the premise that consciousness is not material in nature. The host, who I initially took for a Christian or Muslim apologist, was in fact an atheist or self-described atheist who subscribed to the notion of analytic idealism. He believed that, in the most simplistic terms, that since consciousness cannot be explained by materialism, that is, as arising from brain activity, this is what's known as the hard problem of consciousness, by the way, consciousness must be fundamentally mental or experiential in nature, and that our individual conscious minds are referred to as alters, or pieces of a singular universal mind. And I remembered I encountered this idea several years ago, which is akin to panpsychism, which is the notion that consciousness is an inbuilt feature of all physical matter rather than a unique product of complex brains. I also remember dismissing this idea rather out of hand as not being completely batshit crazy because there is some reasoning behind it, but I still didn't find it worthy of my time at the moment because of the obvious flaws in this idea that quickly came to mind as I considered it. Plus, I had to clip my toenails. My point, though, is that this idea has a lot of support among atheists, even though the idea is supported almost exclusively by reasoning and much speculation and no evidence whatsoever. As I've long maintained, if you're not a scientific or philosophical atheist, preferably both, I don't know why anyone would be adamant in calling themselves an atheist other than in trying to fit in with the cool kids. And right about now I can hear atheists who are analytic idealists having a stroke in the background about the flaws of the materialistic worldview and the hard problem of consciousness, who don't seem to realize that the hard problem of consciousness does not cry out for analytic idealism as its solution. I hope you caught the joke in that sentence because it was very clever. Yeah, so it's weird to me that any atheist would hold such beliefs, probably in the same way it might be weird how some Christians who try to act like Jesus in the Bible would think it's weird how other people who call themselves Christians could support an openly corrupt and pedophilic US government that manifests its racist beliefs violently. Which brings me to the next case in point. It recently came to my attention that one of the atheist content creators I follow on TikTok is a MAGA Republican. That really bummed me out because I like his atheistic content, and it really made me wonder how could this otherwise seemingly sane and rational person support the current US government? If you haven't figured me out by now, let me make it clear that I don't support pedophiles, masked racists with guns disappearing non-white people and killing US citizens, or thin-skinned fucking morons being the US president. I even asked this guy straight up if he was a white Christian nationalist, to which he never replied because, I don't know, did he not want to lose my respect? Well, too late, my friend. Being bummed out in this case is a bit of my own fault too, since I of all people should know that just because this person was an atheist, that doesn't mean that this person can't be a dickhead. Hell, even I can be a dickhead sometimes to the point of being an asshole, though I assure you if I'm an asshole to you, you deserve it. There are some notable atheist right-wingers too, like Richard Dawkins, everyone knows who he is, who is staunchly anti-trans and anti-woke, whatever he thinks that means. There is Elon Musk, he's a self-described atheist, a racist and drug addict and straight-up asshole. You've got Michael Shermer, the skeptic of all people, he's a right-wing misogynist. Longtime conservative pundit George Will has described himself as a low-voltage atheist, though he appears not really to be much of a Trumper these days. There's unfunny comedian and podcaster Adam Carolla, famous for The Man Show. All that said, although I criticize some atheists for their intellectual, social, or political views, I'm not going to sit here and say everything I believe, rationally I would argue, is actually above board. No one is that intelligent, no one is above making mistakes, no one is above being biased by unconscious factors. But it is intellectually honest to admit you can make mistakes and possibly revise your beliefs in the face of evidence or good arguments. I just find it sad that many atheists are just as bad as the apologists they criticize in proclaiming their beliefs are without fault. Not that they explicitly say this, but it is often implied, though this just may as well be something people generally do. No doubt about it, there are unthoughtful or even evil people out there who are theists and unthoughtful or evil people who are atheists. I personally don't believe religion is what causes people to be evil. Notice I neglected to include unthoughtful. Rather, I think it seems that way because 1, theism is indoctrinated into most people in most cultures, and 2, religion is a convenient justification for people who want to harm other people. It also appears many people like to be told what to do, and religion is nothing if not authoritative. So, for theists to say atheists have a particular worldview is as dramatically oversimplifying things as atheists who say theists have a particular worldview without being specific about who they're addressing. I get that it's easy to strawman your opponent's position, that this literally saves our brains from expending too much energy, but atheists are supposed to be smart enough to be above that. That's my unassailable worldview anyway. Just because someone is an atheist doesn't mean they're reasonable, that they can't believe in magic or spiritual/esoteric realms, that they're not misogynist or not racist, or have ever really thought about the things atheists and theists commonly debate. That being the case, my dear apologist friends, if you're listening, stop talking about the atheist worldview, because it doesn't exist. All being an atheist means is that when you say a God exists, the atheist says in response, I don't believe you. And that's it. It's not that fucking hard. Thank you for listening. I'm Atheist Josephina, aka AJV for Noah's Snark. Until next time, let the evidence guide you and wonder inspire you.